Bible says the message of the cross is
foolishness.
Foolishness.
Foolishness. Foolishness.
Foolishness to those that are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. Guys, what is going on? This is Brian Sumner. Welcome to the Foolishness podcast. This is episode 33, and I hope that these have been blessing you. Our goal is to open up testimonies, iron sharpening iron, lifting up the word of God. And one of the things I've found my whole life is I love to be encouraged and to help others be encouraged as well. And today it's a privilege to have on someone that I've been looking to for a while now, the past few years, as the Lord has got a hold of, who has put out many resources and plenty of projects. You might have heard about the Bible Project, but today I have on with us none other than professor, then pastor, but maybe more importantly, skateboarder, Tim Mackie. Tim, what is going on?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
So this is the first time we met, right?
I think here it is.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah, we're virtually meeting.
I think, because you had a giggle a minute ago and probably like, okay, there's Brian from when you skated more. But listen,
Yeah, totally.
I go to Canada once a year, and someone showed me the Bible Project, and I want to say I was flying home the next day, and in the airport, I want to say, and this is getting weird to start with, but I want to say you were in the news store in the airport, and I was going to go over and say, are you the Bible Project guy? And then when I came back, but I know it was you because I'm a face guy. So
Yes.
We've been acquainted in some ways, weird ways, but here we are anyway. So man,
funny.
Thanks for your time. This is all taken off the Bible Project. Where do you want to start? I mean, what is the Bible Project?
Yeah, sure. We'll start with the present.
Yeah.
The Bible Project is a nonprofit animation studio in Portland, Oregon.
Yep.
A friend and I started. We met at a ministry outreach skate park in Portland.
Yep.
Like 20 years ago, so we can talk more about that.
Yep.
But, my friend was in marketing and advertising, creating short animated videos.
And this is John Collins, right?
John Collins.
You're the gentleman
Yeah,
in the videos. Yeah.
You got it. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he had a studio and had kind of worked at this craft of 3 to 5 minute, funny, engaging videos, animated, that explain complex things real simply. Yeah. And so while he was doing that, I was going to school for far too long.
I heard, right? Like 5, 6, 7 years or something?
Yeah, it's a lot. Again, we can talk more about that. But he pitched to me the idea of, man, you've learned so much about the history and language and culture about the Bible. Let's share that with the world, but through this medium of these videos. So we started the studio almost 6 years ago now.
Wow.
And it's a YouTube channel was kind of our first thing, but because we're nonprofit, we're supported by our viewers.
Yeah, which is important for people to understand. People
that's right.
give to believers who are doing the Lord's work. And even just to jump in, you have 1.5 million subscribers.
That's correct.
Have you hit 1 billion views yet? Has that been...
oh man, you know what? No, but it's in the hundreds of millions.
Well, just because
I don't even understand it.
I wake up and if my kids are awake before we start, homeschool, they're watching like Dan TDM or someone, or they're watching a kid playing video games, and I'm like, why don't you just play video games yourself?
Yeah.
So when I found the Bible Project, I was like, wait a minute, I know it's not aimed at kids, but it's animation. So if you can watch these 5 to 8 minute videos that are profound, you can tell that you know your stuff, the Lord does on a work. John obviously has his craft crafted well. Guys, we're not boasting in Tim and John, but we want to honor someone's gifts. This is an amazing resource, the Bible Project. Go on YouTube today, subscribe. I don't get anything out of this other than, guys, the kingdom going forth. Your kids will love it. Your grandpa will love it. And get involved, do it. And people know a lot about you. I mean, you're kind of the Bible Project guy, but more to the point, you're referencing skating. Where did this begin? I mean, where did this begin?
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Skate Church. What's the deal? Yeah, fill me in.
Totally. Man, you know how this goes, Brian. It's hard when your life has just been this journey of kind of the Lord opening one thing after another. It's hard to know where to start at the beginning, because it's like I didn't plan any of this.
And you mean with the Bible Project, yeah.
Just my whole life.
Yeah.
And by this, I mean the last 20 years that I've been following Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just all this stuff keeps happening. And I'm just like,
so it was around, 2002-ish you came to faith?
95, actually 95.
Wow.
So,
okay,
yeah,
so you are... Okay, because I came to faith in 2004, so just for us to nerd out a bit, I'm guessing you're a nerd loving the Hebrew and Greek. I love it myself. So you are up in Portland, Seattle area. You're skating.
Yeah, I grew up right in downtown Portland.
Okay.
And I got my first skateboard when I was 11.
Okay.
And
which board, by the way?
It's really, my life has been defined kind of by two things.
Yeah.
That both intersected with Jesus, and both skateboarding and then biblical scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my skateboard when I was 11, and that was it, man. My parents, dude, imagine my parents. They don't know. They give me a skateboard and a subscription to Thrasher magazine as an 11-year-old.
Which could go either. Well, Thrasher wasn't that crazy back then. I mean, it's better than Big Brother, though. It's better than a Big Brother subscription. If you remember that.
Big Brother was when I was in high school. Oh yeah, man. But all the same, Thrasher was punk rock.
Yeah.
This was 87.
But what was your first board? What was the board they got you?
Well, it was like, a Toys R Us.
Oh, okay.
Generic board.
Wasn't a pro board.
I like shredded that thing in a few months. And so my first skateboard that I went to choose was a Team Alva. It was the Eddie Radigi.
Yep. I know Eddie.
With the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Carrying the severed head on the pile of corpses. You know that one?
I do. And I bet I can get you a reissue if you really want one, because I know Eddie well. So.
Do you?
Eddie's a believer.
And I remember I had the picture of Team Alva. I had cut out the Thrasher page. It was above my bed. And I thought he had the coolest haircut of the whole team. And then I had his board. Anyway. So all that to say...
So
I grew up totally immersed in skateboard culture but here in Portland, it's a little different.
Yeah,
than California.
That's what I was gonna say, because England's the same way. It's kind of got its own edge. So you start skating. You're 11. Are your parents believers or any kind of influence?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my parents both started following Jesus.
Yep.
Out of a wave of the kind of the hippie Jesus movement.
Yep.
That started from a number of revivals in California.
Yeah.
So
through Calvary Chapel really and various things,
really non-traditional.
Okay,
it was like smoke pot, love Jesus, serve the poor kind of thing.
Okay,
and then eventually they lost the smoke pot a lot part, and it was just Jesus.
Hopefully, even though it's trying to come back now with this Abraham idea and stuff. Yeah,
that's right. So my parents both grew up in really strict religious environment.
Yeah.
And they came back to faith in a really non-traditional way. And so they didn't push anything on us.
Yeah.
They kind of just wanted us to find Jesus on our own. And so, there you go. So
they didn't register Thrasher. They just said, here's a skateboard.
Yeah, totally. But they didn't make me read the Bible. And I think I was 13 when I was just like, I hate going to church.
Yeah.
So they were like, all right, then you don't have to go.
Yeah.
It's pretty chill. So, skate culture was my whole life, man.
And for people who are listening, maybe you've heard me have Caballero on or guys like that, but skating is a religion. You and I grow up, you don't see black, white, Chinese, Mexican. You just see skaters. There goes Tim rolling by. Hey, dude, what are you doing? What tricks are you doing? Let's go skate. Let's go to the supermarket. And that kind of leads me into, so you're skating all these years. Yeah. When did you first go to skate church, and how did you even get invited?
Yeah, totally. So skate church is a ministry. It was a local church here in Portland.
Yep.
Just opened a skate park in the back parking lot. And then eventually moved into the basement of the church.
That's right, yeah.
And
is this Paul Anderson? Did Paul Anderson start it?
Yeah.
Paul's a legend in himself, yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. He's a remarkable
What's up, Paul? I'm Berkeley. Berkeley's ripping now, I heard.
Yeah, he totally is. Yeah,
okay.
Married too.
Wow. You start connecting with them.
Yeah, and basically, it's pretty low pressure environment. You go, you pay, back then you paid a couple bucks.
Yep.
If you sit through if you endure a 15-minute religion talk.
So you're being very honest right now, right? Yeah. You were still hating God. You were like, And just so people get it, if you have a perfect ledge or a bank or a whatever, and you're Tim and you have a quarter pipe, you want to go skate, will put up with Brian or Pastor Tim sharing 15 minutes to get a water and a slice of pizza and go skate. But what happens, especially with guys like Paul or many of the ministries around the world now, skate, surf, snow, is they actually care about these kids. They love these kids, and they want Tim to hang out afterwards and ask those hard questions. So who was around at the time? So there was Paul, was Phil Trotter, was Scott Yamamoto.
Yeah, Phil.
Were you around Matt Beach at all?
Totally. Those guys were all kind of the next generation when I was serving on staff.
Okay, wow.
So I started going in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it was like, I could go to Burnside Skate Park, which I did a lot.
Which is scary.
Totally, but it's like, but you risk getting beat up, which my friends did, and like you get your stuff stolen. Or you go to skate church, and like, they're religious, but they like remember your name. Yeah, and they'll even like offer to pray for you, which is kind of weird, but okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? It was like, it was awesome. It was cool.
Yeah. No, and they're very sweet people, and because when I came to faith, I want to say it was 2 years in, I went and spoke at skate church, and I'm actually in Portland in 2 weeks for a Palau festival.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
No, it's a 3-day conference, and I'm going to be sharing a few times. So I was like, maybe even going to go speak at Skate Church, and I'm going to be up there with Tim Byrne. So I don't know if you're around when I come up there. Maybe we'll have to connect, do whatever, hang out, do a couple of kick flips. But so you start hearing about this Jesus.
That's it. And that's it. It was Jesus.
And they were really preaching. I know Paul was, but they were preaching the truth.
Talks would just be like, Paul would read a story from the Gospels about Jesus and just talk about how awesome he was. And to be honest, it was the sayings of Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, stories about him. And I was just like, I've never heard. This all feels brand new to me. And it probably wasn't. I probably heard some of it before, but it was because I'm like hearing it from Paul.
Who's not your mom or dad. Yeah.
And he's a good skateboarder. And then I'm hearing it from all these other guys who work at the park.
Yeah.
And I see them at the skate shop.
Yeah.
So a number of the guys on staff actually owned and ran the skate shop that I went to in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And so it was a whole package deal. It was like, these guys follow Jesus.
Yep.
They're really good skateboarders. They're always nice to me. They invite me to go skate with them. This happens for like 3-4 years.
Wow. And that's a lot of seeds.
Yeah, it was, man.
But you're a truth guy, right? So you were just trying to figure, where does this fit in with me?
Well, my brain didn't really turn on until my early 20s. It was more just I was slow.
Well, I think when I first heard about the Bible Project, and I think it was Tim Byrne says, Tim skates, or he skated. I think you might have said I was kind of like the stoner kid that would go to Taco Bell afterwards with them, and we would still be there hours later, and I began to get fascinated with the truth for myself.
That's right.
So God began just saying, okay, Tim, where are you with me?
It. Yeah.
So
and
now you're
Jesus. Jesus became compelling to me.
And so now you're 20, and I didn't hear much about this, but what I tried to track down online. So you end up on a mission trip in the jungle.
Oh, well, okay. Well, one before that, there's a Wendy's like burger fast food place down the street from the skate park.
Okay.
And so one of the guys who worked at the park took me out for a burger before one night.
Yeah.
And, I had two of my friends. One of my friends got hooked on heroin.
Oh,
my best friend.
Yeah.
And he knew this guy who worked at the park. He knew my friend. And so he was worried about me.
Yeah.
And so he took me out for dinner, and he was just like, dude, you've been around the park for 3 years now. What are you going to do about Jesus, man? Like, look at what's happening with your friend.
Sounds like a believer, huh?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I had never had anyone be quite that. I looked up to this guy and I didn't receive it as hostile. It was actually like, he's right. Like I need to make a decision. And so it was in a Wendy's. Something happened in a Wendy's restaurant and on 82nd and Gleason. And I was just like, I need to follow Jesus, or I'm going to destroy my life.
Does this make it into your sermons of testimonies, Wendy's on 82nd?
I've told the story.
Because no one's mentioned Wendy's in a while. And I'll tell you, my family are out today. And my son was asking for Jack in the Box or Wendy's. So maybe he'll have a God experience today. So,
yeah, you got it.
So you took that and God began to just work in you?
Yeah, something happened, man. And it just, all that summer of 95, my whole life trajectory just got reshaped. And so I started serving at the park. Paul asked me to share my story. And apparently he thought, like, oh, maybe this guy has some potential as like a Bible teacher or something. And so he asked me to start teaching some Bible studies.
Wow.
And then I was just like, I haven't read the Bible. Like, what is this? And so, and to be honest, when I tried to read the parts that are outside the Gospels, because those are the only parts I'd really read, I was just like, what? There's a talking snake on page 3?
I know.
All these sex scandals and like, what's happening? And murder.
And crushing testicles and
totally. Yeah,
all the rest. Yeah.
So there was a school, a university, small Christian school across the street. A number of guys who volunteered at Skate Church were taking classes there. And so I signed up with them.
Okay.
And
that's Multnomah, or is that
at Multnomah?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I just had these professors. I think my brain was finally like my frontal cortex finally formed.
Yeah.
And I'm following Jesus, and I'm not smoking pot anymore.
Amen.
And I'm reading books for the first time in my life. I'm reading the Bible.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is a whole new life and a whole new world.
Well, you can attest. I mean, a lot of times parents will say, what do you think about my son skating? And I go, look, skating itself is neutral, but it's like jiu-jitsu or something, or surfing. You get up and daily give 2 to 3 to 5 to 6 hours to this, you become professional at doing something. So like you pick up the Bible. I already know how to do this. I need to start. I need to make it messy in the middle. I need to let my brain fine tune how I filter this. I need to get it out my system. So you're suddenly just doing this. You're 20, and then does someone say, "Hey, let's go to the jungle for an outreach?" And you're like,
"Yeah, that's right."
Sounds like
totally. Well, no, Paul went with his family to the jungle just to like live with people translating the Bible into a small language group in the jungle.
Yeah,
and he had this powerful experience, and I'm 21.
Wow.
And so I went with 2 friends from Skate Church for a whole summer, and I met these people who had given their whole lives just to telling the story of Jesus to the people in another culture. And to be honest, I walked away from that, and I just went, I want my life to be about sharing the story of Jesus. And so I signed up for Greek.
Wow, and that was the next. It was because you thought, if I can know languages, I can go and...
Yeah, I just loved the Bible. And I felt like I was actually beginning to understand Jesus in stereo. The more I learned about the language and culture of the Bible.
And were you reading biographies on like Adoniram Judson right now, or people like that? Or were you like... No,
to be honest, I just got turned on to biblical theology.
That's awesome.
Biblical studies, but my daily life was lived at the skate park, and sharing the good news about Jesus with skateboarders. And so it's this perfect
But there's something cool
environment for my faith to grow.
There's something cool about what you're saying, because skate culture, I know it's counterculture, so it's almost like, for me to go to school and wear big baggy pants and the Adidas Gazelles, when the Mike Carrolls and Rick Howards are wearing them. Then I now become a Christian. I'm like, well, who is the Catholic Church to tell me what to read? Or who is this denomination to tell me what to read? And literally, I'm not kidding. I was almost going to do it. But the Bible that's in my room, I was walking through a park. This is when I was divorcing my wife, didn't want to live, and said, God, if you're real, and I'm not telling you this is how God's going to work for people, but I said, I need a Bible. I am not kidding you. Going around the corner, there was a brand new Bible wrapped in film sitting on the table. It's in my other room right now. And I said, okay, God, if it's you and me, and this is what I tell people who say they don't believe, you need to go to God. God's the truth. Go to him yourself. Begin this journey. I get the feeling a lot of why you're having a lot of reach is because people are seeing you just going through this journey with the Lord. And my point in this is, as skaters were already kind of pushing back, there was something in Tim that was like, okay, I'm going to get in this. I'm going to get in this language. I'm going to see what God's doing. And that was kind of for me, I'm going to go through this Bible to disprove it. And I didn't go to Greek school like that at the time, but that Bible is tore to pieces. How is someone 900 years of age? What is a behemoth? Yeah. Why are these guys killed by Elijah's bears that come out the woods for calling them baldy? You know what I mean? So it was. So you begin to go Greek, Hebrew.
Yeah.
So when you get in the shower, do you sing in English or do you sing in Hebrew?
Both. Depends on what I've been listening to.
Because I've heard people sing in Hebrew, and it is amazing. So,
it's next level,
So the languages are going, and then now you're doing this whole ministry thing.
I finished. I finished at college, and then that's where I met my friend John Collins.
Okay.
From Seattle, to both go to the school and also to serve at the skate park.
Yeah. So he skated as well, or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, he technically was a rollerblader.
Wow. So look, as he repented.
Yeah, totally.
Because when Paul says things are not beneficial in the Brian Summer translation,
yeah, no, I get it.
He
doesn't do it anymore.
Okay.
But here's the thing: we actually had to start a separate night for the rollerbladers at the park, because fights would start.
So this is like Peter and the early church. This is like the Greeks and the...
Yes, Jews and non-Jews fighting over eating kosher and Sabbath.
So you had rollerblade night. Wow.
Rollerbladers, and John was a leader on the rollerblade night. And I didn't hold it against him, though, because he was a cool guy.
Wow. Well, now you're covered in the blood. And you know, John, we love you. But is it just my kids or everyone's kids that they think he looks like he's either Kylo Ren looking one out of you guys?
I know it. Totally.
Because my kids like, that guy looks like Kylo Ren, huh? So
he does. What is that? What's his name? What's the actor's name?
Adam Driver or something like that? Is it one of those things?
It's pretty uncanny.
It's pretty So this all takes off. You're doing this.
Right. So John and I meet. We finish college. I've got I'm just getting started with like my questions about the Bible.
Wow.
And so that starts a long time. I mean, like 14 years I was in school and loved every minute.
That is a long time.
It was a long time.
Wow.
John went and got some useful job skills and developed like videography, editing.
So he was practical. You were just a religious zealot. It was
that's right.
Okay.
So he dipped his toe in documentary filmmaking, editing, and then found this niche in starting to do explainer stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a cool story. Google had a product called Google Wave. It was an early version of what's now a thing called Google Chrome.
Okay.
Which is, web browser. So the explainer video that Google made was like 20 minutes of two people talking, and he was just like, "This is so lame." So this is kind of, even though he's a rollerblader, it's still the skater instinct.
Yeah, to be rebellious.
I'm just gonna. He makes his own out of little cartoon stick characters
on the same thing.
He makes a little short 3-minute video explaining Google Wave through cartoon characters, and he puts it on YouTube. And then he woke up the next day, and it's got 1 million views. And
wow!
Google's calling him saying, "Will you make more? Like make more of these?" And so then that was how he launched his business.
That was his animation, what his craft would become.
You got it, yeah.
And so
I'm studying Hebrew verbs in Wisconsin and Jerusalem, and he's starting a business. So when I moved back to Portland, I had finished going to school. He pitched the idea to me. We had stayed in touch, and he was one of the best question askers. That's why I liked hanging out with him.
Yeah.
He would read the Bible, and no questions were off limits. And he was honest, but he wasn't trying to deconstruct his faith. He was just trying to figure out like how this.
That's how English people work. I sometimes get in trouble because I want to qualify everything, so I ask questions to get to the root, because that's just what it is. Like you talk about the talking snake. Okay, well then we could go into the Nephilim and the fall and this reptiles. Well, doesn't that come back to who the serpent, the Satan is?
Yeah, you got it.
So then you guys start doing this project, and it gets going.
Yeah, we just start with a couple of artists in a studio. He asked me if you could make a video library of just helping somebody understand what the Bible is, how to read it, main ideas. Wow. And so I came up with a list of 100 videos that would be fun to make. So then we just started chipping away. We spent about a year making the first 2.
Yep.
And then we created a nonprofit.
Yeah.
and then created our own little Kickstarter.
Yep.
With like an old-fashioned fundraising thermometer on our website.
That goes along, and you hit your... And what was the amount you needed to start?
It was like $25,000 to make the next video.
Wow.
And so we released our first 2 videos, and we raised the money in 24 hours. And we were like, okay, I guess we'll make another video. Well, and we had a little thing at the end where it's like, hey, everybody, I'm John and Tim. We hope that's helpful.
Well, because
we'll make another one. We'll make another one. Help us do it.
Well, and I've seen those videos, and it is, I don't know how much you know about what I'm doing. I know we could even jump in a minute when you even were aware of me as a skater, because I'm just curious what you were doing in the audio days. But even for me to do full-time ministry, to have to educate people and go, guys, being an evangelist today is almost like a parachurch ministry. And I'm not the Apostle Paul. He didn't have the wife and the kids like we do. So you're pretty much stepping out with your brother. I mean, in the Lord John, we feel called to this. We're putting our hands to this plow. It's going to take time. It's going to take animation. It's going to take people with real gifts and time and treasures to create this.
I guess professional artists.
Yeah, no, they could be working for anyone.
The numbers are so big is because it's like...
And how many videos in are you now? How many have you done to date? Like 100 or something?
Yeah, we're, I think 130, something like that.
And they range from what, like $8,000 to like 20? What's the highest? Like 30 grand, 40 grand?
Man. Some of our full color animated projects can have a budget of about 40,000.
But the fact that we don't live in a world where God's got a limit to his budget, he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So those who are given to that, and this isn't a fundraising thing. Hey, I have my buddy Tim on, it's blah, blah, blah. This is just you guys saying, Lord, we're going to keep. So as you're doing this, you're teaching partially as a professor, you're pastoring, you're doing this, and then you have a wife and kids?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it was just a side project at first, and then it slowly... As a year or 2 years go by, it just kind of, there's not enough hours in a day
to do.
So it became a half-time and 3/4. And then a little over 2 years ago, I shifted over to just do Bible projects.
Did you almost burn out, or how did you transition that journey from pastor and professor to? I
wouldn't, not burn out, but just, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired.
A lot of thinking all day and
Yeah. But I do that anyway. It was just scattered. However, during that season, when I now look back and I'm like, how did I do all that?
Yeah.
It was the 18th month window where we produced 70 videos on going through every book of the Bible.
Yeah.
And I did that during like one of the busiest years of stuff going on at church.
Yeah.
So I look back and I feel like that was just God's grace.
I was going to say that is the grace of God. I'll come back from seasons like...
Actually, I don't remember creating a lot of the videos.
So in some way you were transported. He transported the Bible project and you're all just downloaded.
Right. So my boys are a little older now, and I think we're kind of have the marathon mentality. Like we'd like to do this for a while, and so we want to build a more healthy rhythm. And so we're in a great spot. Our community of support is so generous.
And it's a necessary ministry, obviously God elected you guys to do this, put you guys in this place. So if you can run with it until you know the door's shut, it's on to whatever else there is. And people, we want people sometimes worship tradition so much, but I don't doubt that if the Apostle Paul was sitting next to me with, maybe his iPhone or whatever, he wouldn't send over one of these things to someone, because our church, my home church, Branches, where I volunteer pastor, I'm part of the teaching team. Many times when I know I'm going through Leviticus or through this or through that, or even my son who's almost 19 is jumping in, I'll send him, hey, here's a video on this, and it'll be a Bible project video. Why? Because it's it's summarized, but it's direct enough where you can get a framework in 3 to 5 minutes. Then you can go into your commentaries. Then you can go into your studies. So that's all what's ahead of you. So when was it? That's kind of so were you around in the audio days? Were you not skating when I was professional, or were you?
Oh, got it. Well, okay. I feel
because you mentioned this earlier.
All my memories of like your video parts would be early mid 2000s.
Okay,
is that right?
So the audio videos and the Baker and
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. So where was I? Yeah, I was in graduate school. But here's the thing. I have a YouTube subscription to Thrasher magazine.
Okay, wow.
I'm still in it. And by in it, I don't mean progressing.
Yeah.
I just mean.
Do you still skate though, or
around my neighborhood? I live about 2 miles from where I work, so in the summers I skate to work.
Listen, you can confess it to me. Face. I'll tell you, this is what's weird. When I came to faith, I had to restore, it was God, but restore my marriage and the rest. It was literally like, am I going to focus so much on my career and not have a strong marriage? I'd never heard the gospel. I came to faith. My ex-wife came to faith. We were remarried, had 2 more children. So for me, this almost obsessive drive with skating just disappeared. So I could literally come hang out with you up there and go, we could take our boards to the park, but I'm probably going to witness to people or want to ask you questions about the Nephilim or this in the Hebrew than anything. And I feel like that's just how God works. So maybe it's, and some people say to me, well, why aren't you so focused on skating? It's just a different call. And I will say this, and this is a bit open, for people to interpret, but I was in a church praying and I felt like God said, take off your shoes. This is holy ground. And, all the religious folk go, what do you mean, Brian? I mean, he just put that verse on my heart, and I said, well, God, the verse is take off your sandals. And I feel like what God was saying is like, no, this is about your skating. And I feel like God was letting me know every 5 years when people check in with you, they're going to see you're remarried. They're going to see you're having kids. They're going to see you're doing ministry. That will be your witness to the skate world. So that was... So then, and were you more street?
I resonate with that. It just kind of
the passion shifted.
That I don't love it.
Yeah.
It just became less important.
Yeah, of course. So Paul made sense because he did, but that wasn't his passion. So skating's just what's there. And
I will say though, when I get to skate to work in the summers, there's a smile deep inside of me that is not. There's nothing else I do that makes.
Well, because you're not really posing. You're actually really skating. You've been there, and there's a way you drag your arm and grind the cabs and.
Yeah, totally. And you're just like, I can't do a 360 flip right now, but that I don't care.
I couldn't really do them anyway. I actually did one at Burnside, 360 flip on the flat, Wally. That's the only time I had. But here's the thing. When you're skating to work, do you have to skate away from John as he's trying to roller skate behind you or what? I'm going to get beat up by John by a roll. But okay, so this is going on. And then I know you don't have too much time. You got about 20 minutes or so, but is it cool if I just bounce some questions off you anyway?
Let's do it. Here I am.
And they're all respectful. I get, I'm about 17 years in my faith, so I don't even know where I sit with so many, but let's see. So just I don't know if you noticed this, you probably do on Facebook, because I'm like, okay, what can I even ask Tim about? There's a couple of message boards.
That's funny. You know what? I dropped out of Facebook.
Okay.
This year. Anyway, that's a longer story. All that to say is I'm Facebook illiterate now.
Well, there's a group of people that I didn't know was there, but I'm like, hey, I look at it pastorally, like where's the church? Where are people today? We know the bride is beautiful, but being a professor, there's different expressions. You've got a very historical sense. You've got the more traditional, and I seen some of those people asking questions, and I don't even know where I sit on a lot of it. I've done various Bible schools, but just these are mellow questions anyway. It allows you and me to have some cool conversation. So the first one is just, how do you navigate the Bible's project's potential role in bringing reconciliation, possibly between different groups of Christians globally? Meaning like Protestant, Reformed, Orthodox, which I could say for you, that isn't your aim. But when you go into the years of prep, how do you even use that to navigate? Is it what God's speaking to you, or,
Man, that's a wide and deep question.
If you want me to say something to help where I think they might be going, is because I think people nowadays are trying to say, here's my camp, this camp, or that camp.
Correct.
Listen, I was saved in a very, very Pentecostal church where I met Jesus. And then I got almost more conservative to lay a foundation of listening to a lot of reformers because I felt like I just knew what they were saying. But there's certain things I can't throw out because I really seen God move, and I believe the Spirit fully operates to this day. And I guess they're saying, how do you, in your moving this forward, how do you just personally navigate, I'm going to leave this in, I'm not? Even like me just talking about then taking off your shoes, so.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe here's one way to approach that topic. the way most people encounter the Bible is in church communities, in communities of faith. Almost all of those communities of faith fall into tradition. They are what they are because of and it's the wonderful genealogy of the Jesus movement throughout history.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. It's the diverse genealogy.
That's what I was laughing at, the wonderful. Yeah.
I guess there's two ways to view that diversity.
Well, that joke, the best thing about the church is the people, and sometimes the worst thing about the church can be the people, right. So it's for what reason? Yeah.
So the one of the challenges is that when all you know is your particular tradition, whether it's the church you came to faith in or what your family's been in or whatever, is that different traditions develop different unique ways and language of talking about the Bible, of what it's about, what it means. And so very quickly, what the meaning of this or that part of the Bible is, without knowing it, is actually very unique and kind of like narrow to that group.
Like when you and I came to faith, we were both like, we're open to whatever, really. Yeah.
Totally. That's right. So I think for me, what I love about biblical scholarship and getting back and reading the texts in their first historical context is that it's sort of like, it's like a time warp. And you can, as best you can. Yeah. None of us can do this perfectly, but it's like I want to hear Jesus on the hillside, and understand what those Galileans heard him say.
Yeah, how they understood it.
Yeah, how they understood it, and what he was trying to say in that context. Not because I don't want to hear him speak to me in the 21st century, but I want to make sure what he's saying to me is like really connected and faithful to what he was actually trying to say.
Yeah.
And so what that does is when you focus on that, reading the Bible in its literary context, historical context, what you're actually doing is tapping into what's common to most all of the diverse traditions. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do with everything we create, is just focus it on, it's called a biblical theology approach. And we're just trying to read the Bible within its own language and culture and history. Well, and what we found is that it actually resonates with across all of the differences and divisions.
Yeah.
Our key phrase is we want to help introduce people to experience the Bible as a unified story that leads to success. And what we are finding is that it's a unifying story too, because we tend to focus on our differences. But when you focus on what we all have in common, it's immense what we have in common.
Well, even for where I am, I mean, there's people that I might have on a podcast and they could just say, oh, well, because someone isn't in this camp or that camp, they couldn't even hear half of what the guy was saying. And I'm like, man, what this guy's books might have spoke to me 15 years ago, and I'm focusing on what he said to me, I can let go of anything else that's there. I mean, obviously I'm not for heresy and nothing like that. And even, I think to your point, I've been talking to Jerry Bashirs recently. I was gonna do that cohort with him, kind of like in Western. I'm just too busy, but even his approach is the same way. I get the idea that for you, maybe it was Jefferson Bethke and John Mark and them was more to sit back. I mean, I know that whole teaching on Jesus as a rabbi, just that, that idea of the dust of your rabbi and fishes of men.
Yeah, that's right.
That alone changes the idea of Christianity, because my go-to is the gospel and discipleship, where most Christians today don't even really look at how am I truly being discipled under my rabbi's yoke. So that's where, second practical one. How and what are you doing practically, Tim, to teach your kids in their own way of reading the Bible? I know every kid is different, but do you have any tips? Do you just put YouTube on and that's it, or no? What do you do?
Right. Actually, no. My boys are pretty little; they're 6 and 8 years old.
Okay.
So I'm discovering it as I go. But I'm actually holding back with a lot of the videos. Some of them are kind of intense. We depict a lot of the violence in a pretty realistic way. And, because I think the biblical authors want us to see the horror of human violence for what it actually is. It's not children's literature.
It's not aimed at children as well. It is aimed at adults. Yeah.
No, dude. So I think what I've done a lot in this very early season, and actually this summer marked a shift in kind of my plan.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell stories about Jesus. And like, because I want the earliest memories to be Jesus is awesome. He's wise. He helps everybody. He's generous. Just like that basic. And he loves me. Yeah.
Him as a person, who he is. Yeah. The living Jesus.
And again, that's out of my own experience. I fell in love with Jesus. That was where it all started. I didn't start with the Bible.
Yeah.
It was Jesus.
Yep.
And so this summer is the first time we're working through the whole biblical story. And I'm using one is Sally Lloyd-Jones created a great resource, the Jesus Storybook Bible.
Yep.
And so, and sometimes I riff on it a little bit, I'll kind of reshape a little something. And then my next goal within the next year is to actually straight up like get out my Bible and start reading them stories from the text. Yeah. But in a way that'll be real dialogical. And
they might ask you questions and then you respond to what sticks to them and what's in their heart. And I just heard you say innocence, and I think that's very important, is having an 18-year-old, we kind of held him back a lot from a lot of the experiences. And the last few years, like, well, you guys really kept me out of stuff. And I go, yeah, bud, but now that you have this girlfriend and they're going into this having honored God, you might not have been here were we not, not protective in a dangerous way, but innocence is so important. Train them up in the way they should go and that focus. Yeah. So, okay.
Well, and so much of what I've learned from John Collins, who grew up immersed in like American evangelical, the thing.
Yeah.
Was he's had to do so much unlearning to learn what the Bible is actually saying. It's been so, and I didn't have any unlearning to do. It was just all new. And so I've had that in mind of like, how can I just help set them up so that they have fewer things to unlearn that will probably become obstacles to them. I mean, you probably find that too. Yeah. So many people end up walking away from Jesus, but for reasons that actually aren't real sticking points.
They're not about Jesus, really.
And they're misunderstandings in the first place.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know. Ask me in 10 years. And
well, you'll be asking me in 10 years because once those boys are 15, 16, you're going to be, and I got a sweet kid. So.
You're me in 10 years, yes.
Okay, and then I know you got to get going a bit, but okay, what place do you think systematic theology holds? Is it worthwhile, or does it more than often confuse our understanding of biblical theology? Which you've kind of answered that. What I'm hearing is, I'm seeing just off what you're saying and through John is the richness of God. God isn't doing a new work. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Canon's closed. But this expression is almost allowing people to come to Jesus through your years of study, John's questions, and through animation. So the idea is, though, do we go get a systematic theology and just say, this is the way it is? Because I tend to push back on that. I tend to go, not to oppose it. I love those guys. I own Wayne Grudem's Systematic Theology. I love reading things by John MacArthur and Piper, but I also say, but Lord, where are you in the areas of my life? So, again.
Man, it's hard to soundbite.
Yeah.
A response to that kind of thing. My understanding, at least my definitions, working definitions, biblical theology is actually trying to understand the biblical authors on their own terms, in their own language and themes.
Yep.
Systematic theology is where I step back and I say, hey, I'm a 21st century American.
Yep.
Or Westerner. And I'm trying to synthesize all of these different themes and ideas in the Bible in a way that's more coherent and addresses my questions.
Yeah, not for you, not for something new, but how do I understand this in the context of the life I've lived?
Yeah, that's right, totally. Whereas biblical theology is more oriented towards what the authors were trying to communicate. I think systematizing is saying, how can I shape the raw materials of the biblical story to address things that the biblical authors don't address. The biblical authors don't address all kinds of things that are really important questions.
Especially culturally now, and especially where you live,
So I think there is immense value in creative synthesis of the biblical story and themes to address our current moment. However, I just think we have to hold our systems with very open hands because we're more shaped in our culture than we ever even know.
Yeah.
All of our restatements of the Bible are going to sound so trapped in our culture to people 100 years from now. Just like when we read somebody 200 years from now, we're like, how did they talk like that?
What are rollerblades? What did that even mean?
Totally.
Or Zoom,
so
whatever.
I think there is a place. I think it plays a different role in understanding the Bible. When we start with our systems, I think it's very easy to go on and distort what the biblical authors are trying to say.
And maybe this will even help with whoever asked the question, but I've said it a few times. I don't mean to say as an evangelist, but as I travel, Tim, I am with pastor after pastor after pastor. And what I've found is 80, if not 85% of the church is so discipleship focused or within the church walls that I've literally sat with people that I love who are running massive, massive things. And I've said, hey, how do you get an outreach going? How do you get this going? How do you get that? And they go, man, it would take 4 or 5 or 6 months of meetings. And I'm saying that to say, I almost feel like the role of an evangelist has been lost in systems. Do you know what I mean? Because some of the questions that people were throwing me were, let's say this Foolishness podcast took off, or the Bible Project becomes your baby, and it's, 30 years from now, and you're still, this is what God's given me. All of that can be getting in the way of the true call, following and fishing. All of that can mean Tim might go outside today, and he might go into that same Wendy's, but he might not even look around and see someone and say, did they know Jesus? How am I Paul Anderson to Tim? How am I whoever witnessed to Brian? So the whole idea is more the Spirit needs to be leading. We need the foundation. And I know you've got about 3 minutes. So final question from Brian from Liverpool, from me. Okay, help me out with the Nephilim. All right. Where are you with I know the Elohim idea and the fallen ones. Where do you sit with this?
The Nephilim. I think they're giants.
Okay.
I mean, I think, and when I say, the most compelling explanation is
they were physical giants.
Biblical authors are referring to big people, violent warriors. That were viewed as half God and half human.
Which is all over culture. They had 6 fingers. There's statues everywhere. Right. Egyptians. Right. It's throughout mythology.
And in every other culture except ancient Israel, they were viewed as the heroes, as the embodiment of the gods among us. Mm-hmm. And in the estimation of the biblical authors, they were what's wrong with the world. Mm-hmm. The spread of violence and people sponsoring their national stories as if they're from the gods, and our greatest heroes are our national divine human warrior giants. This is the story around these figures. So Genesis 6, it's weird to us, but it's an ancient form of biblical trash talk.
They would have understood what was meant by Nephilim in that day.
Totally. The reason why they're so obscure is because the biblical authors are assuming the readers understand this. And you don't have to define what they mean.
The context for them, for sure.
But the shorthand is, it's like, imagine, I'm thinking on the spot, which is never great.
I'm messing you up at the end of this podcast here. But
no, it's okay. But, think of something that's really well known in our culture that everybody values and thinks is like the coolest
thing. Like Kanye West.
Okay, well, okay, there you go. I don't want to name names. I'm just saying, and then the biblical authors would be taking that role or that type of figure.
I'm not saying Kanye's a Nephilim. Forgive me. I'm bumming John Collins out, and now Kanye.
I'm just saying, actually, no, dude, they're a part of the problem. And the biblical author, biblical authors just assumed that there were these giant warriors in the ancient world. And
but you believe the sons of God came down and impregnated women, like it says. These are the offspring. And then in Numbers, when they go into the land and they say, we were like grasshoppers in their sight.
Some of them there.
We literally were grasshoppers. We were, Goliath is,
There you go. I think the way Genesis 6 is worded, it's worded in the way that all ancient people thought about this. So what we're asking is, as moderns, is, okay, but what actually happened? And so I get that. So let's, we can form, here's maybe a couple ways to view it. But what I'm not going to do is just import my discomfort.
Amen. That's what I guess I was even getting to. When someone says, Brian, why does it matter? Because you and I are having a conversation Bible-based, but when I go to the skate park later today, that kid might come up to me, and believe me, they're going to ask me, if I bring up the Bible, I know that's what saves them and it's the gospel, but they ask about Illuminati, they ask about conspiracy, they ask about giants and Nephilim, and you begin to have these conversations, getting back to Corinthians 4:4. Who do you think they're worshiping? Who do you think's in charge of this world? What do you think? And I reference back to all that's wrong in this world is Satan's the father of lies, obviously, in this world. We see that idea going out. So I just wanted someone to give me some feedback on the Nephilim, because most
that's right.
Most people don't
so here's the last
there.
thing, man. If you're an ancient Israelite, think this is still today. Humans have, as far back as we can tell, been representing godlike humans with gigantic statues.
Yeah.
Right? And all of the Babylonian kings and gods, when you go to the ancient Egyptian temple, you can go still today.
Yeah.
The statues are still there. There's these
wings and dog faces and
Yeah, totally. But dude, you go to Wall Street. There's a gigantic bull.
So I know where we're going here. We could that's a whole other episode right there, huh?
Yeah, or just the way we deify our celebrity, political, entertainment figures. And that's what the biblical authors are doing. You're saying, no, dude, they're not the heroes. They're actually the problem.
Even Pharaoh's headdress with the snake and the serpent and Ra and Isis. And
you got it. The whole deal.
Well, guys, anyway. you heard it here. So I know you got to run. You got stuff to do. But Tim, would you just mind? We'll have to connect in the future. Would you just mind just praying us out for anyone who has heard any of this, guys? Look, God got a hold of some skateboarders. We're so thankful for what he's doing, but God cares for you. He sent his son to that cross to shed his blood, to live, die, and resurrect. He can rid us of our sin.
I'm guessing I froze too.
You might have froze there. Yeah. So I'll lead us in with this, but guys,
I'm with you.
Okay, guys, if you were driving across country, checking in with us, we're just a couple of skateboarders that God got a hold of. It is great to see the work that the Lord is doing in Tim. I'm out here trying to do what God's called us to do, our hand to the plow. Hopefully, you've stepped into that journey. You've heard about the cross, Christ who lived, died, and rose again. He shed his blood because God so loved the world, guys. My relationship began in 2004. Thank you, Jesus. We hope you've been encouraged. But Tim, would you mind just praying us out and just whatever the Lord lays on your heart for a minute or so for us?
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, sure. I'll pray in Hebrew since you asked.
Amen. Some tongues. Right. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yivarechecha Adonai vayishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. May the Lord bless you all.
Amen.
May he keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you. May he show you his favor. May the Lord lift his countenance towards you, and may he give you the gift of wholeness and peace. Jesus, we believe that your peace is with us and for us because of what you did on our behalf that we could not do for ourselves. And so we pray in your name. Amen.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, man. I wasn't expecting a little serenade there to the Lord. Do you think that it's possible that our DNA is written in ancient Hebrew?
Oh, wow.
I
haven't heard that one.
I heard that from a Hebrew scholar. So,
wow.
Okay, let me know the address to send John a skateboard. And we will, dude, give him a hug from me, John. I'm just kidding. We'll have to play skate when I get up there, but we'll connect sometime, man. I appreciate it. And we will be praying, guys. It's just the Bible Project on YouTube, right? That's how they get involved.
Just Google the Bible Project and you'll find out everything we're doing.
Hope we haven't drove you guys too crazy being silly skateboarders, but Tim, we'll connect. Thank you for your time. God bless everything that you're doing.
Brian.
All right, you guys, God bless. This is Brian Sumner with the Foolishness Podcast. And why? Because the message of the cross is foolishness to those that are perishing, but to us who are now being saved, it's the power of God. Check out briansumner.net. I'm traveling. I'm out there. I'm doing whatever the Lord's leading. Love you guys. God bless. Amen.
Hey, guys, stick around for a new song from a good friend of mine, Brian Albright. It's from his project Huntington, and it's called Keep On Running. And it's available on iTunes, Spotify, and most places where music is available. God bless.
trapped in lies I believed about myself, but you drew me in with a love so deep. It changed my heart, changed my soul, and I sing. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that shows me you. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love, to an endless love, breaking through. Where could I go that I would not find you by my side? Body and soul, God, you take it all, you make it new, you make my heart sing. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that shows me you. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love, to an endless love, breaking through. With a love so deep it changed my heart within. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that shows me you. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love, to an endless love, breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that's breaking through. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to it like that shows me you. I keep on running to an endless love. I keep on running to.
This has been brought to you by the One Story Podcast.
Tonight,